Okay. I think that we are live. Can everybody, if you're here and you're watching, thank you for being here. I see we've got a few people. Tell me if you can hear me okay. Check, check. I want to make sure everybody can hear. Well, it looks like my mic is working, but if anybody wants to comment and confirm that, that would be awesome. Okay, so I've got Jennifer Hart here with me today. Hi, Jennifer.
First camera.
I know, I forget, like, oh, it's right there. Like, I want to look over here at my computer where I can see the screen, but I'm going to move my iPad over here so I can talk to people.
Perfect.
And not have to turn it all the way around. But anyway, Jennifer is a country music artist here in Nashville, Tennessee, and we've kind of been internet friends for a little bit.
A few years, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of mutual friends.
Yes.
But Jennifer reached out and was ready to come in for some sessions. She's preparing for a tour coming up in the spring, late winter, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely sounds like you got to work on some stamina endurance because you got big, long sets that you have to sing for. But this is our first session, and this is a rare, exciting thing, is getting to capture a first-time lesson.
Yes.
Not your first time ever taking a lesson, but first time with me.
Yeah, and it's been probably 3 years since I've had a lesson, so I feel out of shape vocally.
Yeah, and that can happen. It's all good. I've got somebody who says, thank you, Minky, that you can hear us. Okay.
Perfect.
So we're going to just go through what I would normally go through. I can't put this here. I'm not going to like put it way over here because otherwise it's like covering up my piano keys. I need something else, but that's going to be fine right there. I'm just going to go through some different exercises to warm you up. Have you warmed up yet today?
No.
Okay,
I
good.
waited for this.
No, that's good. That's good. So we're going to go through some exercises to get you warmed up all the way around very holistically.
Okay.
And everybody just gets to watch and experience that.
All right.
So we're going to
Good luck,
pretend
guys.
like no one's here to a degree, but we won't. We'll still talk to you.
All right.
Okay, we're going to start with lip rolls. Have you done these much? Like
Yes.
Say that for me. Yeah, do you ever use your fingers to help sustain it? Okay,
Yeah.
go. Really good. Okay, so give me a... Good. Yeah, go back to that slide again. Go. Yeah, do that. Good. Do you notice there was a little bit of a difference between that and this, where we went up to the exact same note? It's all mental.
Okay.
It's the brain that's thinking, oh, now I'm singing a scale, so I have to sound like I know what I'm doing and try harder.
Yeah.
And it sounds high, so I'm going to push a little bit harder. But when you slide, there's a little bit more of this organic approach of expectation of it being easy, and the voice responds to that by being more released. So you have better clarity on the slide, less air pressure, and less overall presence of pushing of any kind.
Okay.
So go back to that slide one more time. Very just carefree, who cares what notes we go to, but just go. Yeah, you got it. One more time. Yes, now
Feel it here. Okay.
that same approach. It's almost like this is a slide. Don't worry about pitch. That one was better. Yep. Yeah, just relax into it. One more. Back down. would you say, before we jump into any more exercises, what would you say you feel like are your best strengths vocally?
Chest voice, and maybe like a mix I'm iffy on, like a flip to falsetto.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
chest and flip.
Chest and flip.
Yes.
What do you feel like are the most challenging parts of your voice that you want to work on?
Mix and head. Mix is hard for me to not be too chesty because I like to pull. So that kind of area where you're trying to, you're not quite head, but
yeah. That makes sense because it almost would seem like, is that conflicting where you're saying you can flip, but head voice is weak?
Yes.
But the flip is usually successful because it's this like pressure release valve where you intentionally and with a bit of control and skill pull the rug out from under your own voice and allow that flip. Like Sarah, do you remember Sarah McLachlan?
Yes.
So I grew up listening to Sarah McLachlan because she was popular. I mean, my senior class song in high school was "I Will Remember You."
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, totally. Back in the day when like the ASPCA commercials were the Sarah McLachlan song "In the Arms of the Angel," and you'd see pictures of like dying animals in the streets and stuff, and they'd try to be like, "Give us money."
Oh yeah,
that was my generation.
Well.
And I listened to a lot of that, and I learned the skill of that flip. She did it all the time. It was sort of her signature sound stylistically in her pop stuff, but she did it really well. And when I go back and I listen to it now, kind of analytically, I can hear that. I can hear what it's this sort of letting go of pressure. And so if there's a buildup, there's a strength in chest, you said, and the strength of that flips. So there's this like buildup of pressure coming from chest that then you get to let it go. And it's like, but you've learned the skill of making it land in an accurate place when you do let it go. And it's a cool stylistic tool. I still do it. I just only did it back in the day because it's the only thing I could do.
Yeah.
I built a whole style around my lack of ability.
Exactly.
Rather than
That's
what I
kind of
really
where
could
I
do.
feel like I'm at. Yeah.
And so if you've got more options, more tools in the tool belt, so to speak, then you can make actually more authentic choices, I believe. Yeah. Because now you're not doing what you can only get away with, but you're actually making the choice of what the song is asking for you to do in that moment, and you can show up and do it. Versus like, I really want to go for it here, but I can't. So I'm going to have to do this instead. So, I mean, and that's super common. Whatever that thing is for people, that approach is very, very normal. So now with the places that we need to build out being mix and head voice makes complete sense because head voice is really more representing a controlled release of your upper register versus the flip typically goes to a falsetto, which is technically a different thing.
Yes. Okay.
And a lot of people don't know that. Fun fact. Head voice and falsetto are two different coordinations of the voice itself. Head voice is more actual legitimate closure of the vocal cord muscle versus falsetto implies a lack of internal edge closure. So it's like a air opening happening, like a you can even hear that little rupture sounding, that break. It sounds like a donkey braying. Yeah. And it's just meaning a lot more air is passing through the cords and they don't have that seal that we really see cleanly in head voice, which is like a ooh, where I am more in control. That has the capacity to connect down to the bottom. Doesn't mean it has to. It means it can. Falsetto can't. It has to sort of reset closure and so you can flip back down.
Exactly.
Like that little thing is almost inevitable. So the mix obviously is where we're blending chest and head. You get the benefit of both the foundation of power of your chest voice, which is a strength zone, but then the benefit of the release and clarity of that power, so you can sing higher for longer with more power without all the strain coming in. So so let's start with your strength zone because that's the easiest place to play from is your chest voice. So going right here, give me a mum 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 mum, just like you're talking. Mum 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 mum. Yeah. Mum 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 mum. Mum 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 mum. Mum 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 mum. Mum 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 mum. Mum 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 mum. Mum 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 mum. Mum 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 mum. into that first bridge territory where it's like, I might have to push if I keep going.
Yeah.
Or you might can flip a little bit. But let's just come back down for now. Actually, switch it to a na. Say na 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 na. I want to get a little bit more in that front space. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Yeah. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. All right, good. And I like the N a little bit more because they both are very, very similar, but because of the way the tongue taps on the roof of your mouth, it actually helps send resonance a little bit forward more for you. Okay. Your mum was pretty good. I did notice there's ever so slightly a tendency for it to slide back as you ascend.
That's
just a little bit
problem.
Yeah, and that's pretty typical, to be honest. So other like different things that we can do to counter that is going to be really beneficial, because where there has been probably a history of pushing up against a wall when you get to a certain point in your chest voice and like pulling, anytime we come to that place of like, I'm getting there, we're going to sort of retreat. Even though muscularly we're still charging ahead, resonance-wise we're pulling back. And that actually makes, it's like a cycle that we get ourselves into, because pulling back is actually going to make you push harder. And it seems kind of counterintuitive, but the more you're leaning forward into that resonator, the less muscle has to play a role, because you're sort of delegating responsibility of power into your resonators, so that it's not shouldering the load exclusively by the chest muscle, by the muscle of the cords. Okay. And so we want to get that thing to move forward. So that N helps us do that sort of subconsciously. Is that the word? Subconsciously? I think that's the word.
I think so.
Yeah. You don't have to think a whole lot about it. It just does it for you. It's like an automatic switch. Okay. Now, it's not a silver bullet, nothing is. So let's go over into your head voice, isolate that for a second and see what's going on when it's more clear closure of head voice. Now, we already did that in your lip roll, so I heard where your head voice goes to. We just want to bring that into focus. So say, let's do a W first. I want you to go, woo, woo, woo.
Woo, woo, woo.
That sounds great.
I can do it when I do that, but not when I'm singing.
Oh, but you can. But okay, you said something interesting before we started on the live. You said you like woke up one day and you're like, yeah, I can sing in head voice.
My struggle, I probably started singing lessons at 9 years old, and I've done them on and off until about 3 years ago. Yeah. And literally my whole singing lesson career, I could not do head voice. It was I was constantly pulling, and it was such a hard thing for all of. Do
you think you were coached to push?
I think it's just like a comfort thing, especially being in country music. Sure. A lot of we're not singing classically up here. Like a lot of people like to sing down here. It's like a trend thing.
And who did you like love listening to in country, female country, when you were growing up?
Leanne Rimes, Shania Twain, Faith Hill.
Yeah. All big chest singers.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. And then Carrie Underwood kind of came up underneath them. Yeah. And was more of that. Like, some of those singers that you just mentioned can get into a mix, but predominantly it's super chest heavy. Yes. And man, I'd have to really think about this. Lainey Wilson does a good job of getting into her mix in country, and it's improved over the last 2 years, in my opinion. But now, like, the trend almost left the power belting in country and moved over into like softer singing. Yes. So like Miranda Lambert kind of does a little bit of both, but then oh my gosh, I'm losing her name. There's just more of the softer side of the feminine voice, but it's like, okay, well, where do we land in between? But when your ears have been listening to people like Shania and Leanne Rimes, fun fact, that was my very first concert. She was like 5 years old. Freaking, I mean, she
sings here a lot.
Yeah, she does. She sings in like a canurdal pharyngeal. Yes. It's this kind of like, it's just very ugly. I know. I'm not trying to mock her at all. The voice is great. She was my first country, like not country concert. My first concert was seeing her, the Blue tour.
So
I mean, it was her first record. I said she was 5. She was probably like 13. I don't even know. She was so young.
Yeah.
And she did that yodel thing really well on Blue. But her chest voice has always kind of been this like, where it was in the nasal cavity and forward, and that's how she could get away with it. But because it had somewhat of like a throat presence to it, it was a polarizing sound sonically. Like some people loved it or hated it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if she's singing much anymore. She's in Hallmark movies, I see.
Okay, I need to watch those. I didn't know that.
She's done movies.
I'm a big
Leanne
fan.
But at any rate, okay, so coming back to, you're listening to a lot of those singers.
Yes.
They're in your ear, and that's probably what you came to lessons going, I want to sing these kinds of songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to encourage you to keep doing that. Do you feel like anybody was ever trying to train your head voice?
I feel like they always tried to, and I just could not get there. And I don't know if it was the way they were training, or if it was just my voice, or if it was mental, but like it would just always cut out. Mm-hmm. Every time I try to go higher, it just completely cut out.
Yeah. But then one day
I woke up and I could do it.
That's so wild.
I could not tell you how.
That is really wild.
Thank God.
Did you just
like, here?
Maybe. Hey.
It's weird.
Did you just start trying stuff?
No. I'm not kidding. I woke up and I could do it.
That is fascinating.
One day I went to record a song, and normally I would just like belt the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I could just all of a sudden do like very comfortable, easy head voice and falsetto. Falsetto I could never do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Did you have like a really powerful therapy session the day before?
Maybe. Probably.
I mean, to be honest, it's kind of like, that's sort of a joke, but sort of not, because it's so mental.
Yeah.
It's so mental.
Yeah.
Probably more than most of us really care to realize. But the woo sounded really good, so we're going to play with that. Okay. So go woo, woo, woo. Woo, woo, woo. Woo, woo, woo. Woo, woo, woo. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. That's great. So we're going to put that into a scale. Go woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah. Woo, 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 woo. 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 Good. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Now go woo, 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 woo. So we want these to sort of have like this, it's almost circular, like a woo, 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 where instead of a woo, 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 which feels more like rungs on a ladder that are very exact, but when they're more of a woo, 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 you feel how there's sort of have this like a fall off of each one, and it helps to keep us loose and not so precious. And like I care obsessively about the pitch. Don't. Instead, just a woo, 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 woo. Say that free vocalize. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Yes, yeah. When the speed helps with this as well. So woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Just like that. There's great release in that mode. So we want to go woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Good, keep going. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah. Woo, 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 woo. Good. Woo, 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 woo. Go woo. Woo. Yeah, good. Here's the thing about training head voice is it's about, in any part of your voice that especially represents a weakness to you, is thinking about it less in terms of must fix this and make it sound good. Instead, how can I make this feel easy and not think about it as hard? Okay. And so when you're making those noises that kind of have that siren approach, like a woo, 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 or woo, 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 I'm not thinking really about singing there, right? I'm thinking about making noise, and it releases a lot of tension and muscle, because I'm not like, my mindset is, if I think that I say this all the time, if I think that it's hard, I'm going to approach that with striving. Yeah. I'm going to work hard, because my brain is sending signals literally to my body. Oh, this note is difficult. So my body is going to be like, oh, okay, well, the brain has told us that this is difficult, so we've got to show up and help. Yeah. And that means I'm recruiting all sorts of excessive musculature elements that I don't actually need, that are kind of clamping down and preventing that release from coming out. instead, and this is why mentally it's so important, because it's a reframe, is when I approach this and go, that's easy, I don't have to work so hard for that, then my body's going to relax. Yeah. So you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're cool. We don't need to work so hard. Yeah. And then all this stuff that's way too much, yes, just chills out substantially. So, okay, we're going to go back down. So that, just keeping that in mind, make noise. Don't worry about notes, because I couldn't care less if I can tell you can sing a tune. Okay. I don't care if these notes are like kind of in another planet. We want it to feel good first, sound good later. Okay. All right, so we go. Woo, 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 woo. Here we go. Woo, 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 woo. 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 Woo, 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 woo. Really quick, I'm going to see if I can do something really quick. I am putting Remember God, Holy Bible 1611 in timeout. Bye. I don't have time for you. This person is been throwing some hate shade my way, telling me that I'm like terrible and don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
So I don't need that kind of trash in my.
No, exactly.
I'll engage with people if they have questions, but not when they get on there just to tell other people that they think I'm a flaming piece of crap.
And
so
what are they
bye.
Doing? And who are you?
I know, I have more self-respect than that. So, and it's ironic that Remember God, Holy Bible is here to tell everybody how terrible I am. Yeah, so. Exactly. Bye. Anyway, I put you in timeout for a day, and if you really want to come back, then you can come back with respect. Woos, those were good. Okay, we're gonna get into your mix. Now, I'm gonna go into this longer scale. This is the one we did on your lip rolls, but we're gonna put mix into this because I love the long running jump start, if you will. The long ramp gives us a lot of momentum. It's kind of the difference between, like, you know, in the track and field sports, the standing long jump and the running long jump.
I did gymnastics and cheer, so it's like running, tumbling versus just standing.
Probably easier, right? Because you get that momentum behind you. Now, it has to be the right form, it has to be the right momentum, but still, we use that to our advantage. So let's try this on a mom, and this is the first time I've actually ever gonna hear your mix, because I've not ever heard it before.
I'm already scared.
No, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Okay, so just think we're just making noise. Let me ask you, what's been like your favorite mix exercise? What's kind of your go-to?
It's been so long. I don't remember.
Did you ever feel like any like the weird sounds were easy for your voice to find?
Like goo, like anything ooh or oh, like anything that's where I cut out.
So oohs you liked?
Yes.
As you did not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So goo? Did you say goo?
Yeah.
Or did I dream that?
Goo or gut, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna start there. That's gonna be our like foot in the door, and I want you to say goo 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 goo. Right there.
Goo 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 goo. Goo 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 goo.
Say goo goo goo.
Goo goo goo.
Yes, that second one. That second one.
Okay.
You kind of went goo, kind of whiny.
Okay.
Say goo goo goo.
Goo goo goo.
Goo 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 goo.
Goo 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 goo.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna see if we can make that into a slightly different syllable that makes it even easier. So go more whiny cry. Go mama mama.
Mama.
Yeah, like now. Oh, you remember how we did the nuh?
Yeah.
Did we switch that from a mum to a nuh?
I think so.
In your chest voice?
Yes.
Use that instead. Go no 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 no.
No 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 no.
Yeah. No.
No.
No no no.
No no no.
No no no.
No no no.
So it wants to back away.
Yes.
Right there. Okay, so we're gonna micro dissect it just a little bit and get a little bit more diagnostic. So mums, nuhs, stuff like that are really good barometer type exercises where you can sort of be like, what is my voice how does it respond to this? And it can tell us a lot about what then we need to go into. Like, do we go more into a pharyngeal resonator kind of exercise, more into like edge coordination type of thing? I think for here, it's probably a little bit of both, but I want to start more in edge. And the reason for that is because you're a chest dominant singer, this is probably going to be a little bit easier. Okay. The stuff that's a little bit more muscular focused, because that's what chest really loves to thrive on. Yeah. So it's like play to the strength. Let's see what it wants to do there. When we go, let's use a little bit of vocal fry. Which, do you remember what that is?
Yes.
Okay, so go whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, good. So it's just a slow vibration of the chords, and in some respects, you can put like a friendly squeeze on the chords to get a little bit more activation of the muscle. So we go whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Now say ma, ma, ma.
Ma, 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 ma.
Good. Na, na, na.
Na, na, na.
No, no, no.
No, no, no.
Now it's staying more forward. Now it's smaller, but it's the same exact coordination with less volume that we were doing on the scale, or when we were doing anything with like the no or the na before, where it wanted to back away, right? It was like a no, no, no. It was like, not sure. Okay, now I'm more comfortable because I got lower. Here, because we take the volume knob and we turn it down a little bit, it feels safer to stay forward. And so it's not retreating anymore. So it's going, no, no, no. Do that again.
No, no, no.
Do you feel how it's right there? It's just more relaxed. It's ironic, right? Because there's a compression happening on it that's allowed. You know, people like poo-poo compression. Like, why? It's a brilliant tool. We all use it all the time in normal life, and we're all fine. We're all fine. You can overuse compression for sure, but a lot of times we need to leverage just enough to help bring our voice forward. And then it's all about balance. It's like, what is the right amount of compression? Because ultimately we use compression anytime the chords come together, something that's allowing them to come together. It's how much and what kind is the main question that we're trying to answer. But when you add just a little bit of this, like, na, 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 no, 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 it stays more in this placement of forward focused, so that then I don't have to treat everything differently depending on what note I'm on in my range, right? So go back to it, go, no, no, no.
No, no, no.
That was good, yeah. No, no, no.
No, no, no.
And now you've actually already let go of some of the vocal fry, which is cleaning up the tone, right? It's more pure rather than fried sounding. No, no, no.
No, no, no. I felt that wanting to go back.
But you did a good job of keeping it forward. Do it again.
No, no, no. I went back.
Think like a little kid. Like, do you have any... I know you don't have kids yet. Nieces, nephews? Yes. Like when they're precious and adorably whiny.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
When they do that, they're not... Anybody is ever thinking about correct vocal technique when they're in normal speech and response type of states. And I see this in my kids all the time, is when they're very like reactionary in a moment, right? They're not thinking about what's correct, but their body responds with what's easiest. Yeah. And that usually sounds like crying, right? Okay. Yeah. Like a whine sound. It's harder to to have that type of like emotional response differently than a cry. And so when we can come back to what's organic to us as human beings, when we make those crying sounds, we're tapping into that. So think like a child. Think about how would a whiny child say this versus a professional singer, right? Who has to sound good. Yes. So go, no, no, no.
No, no, no.
That was so good. Yeah. No, no, no.
No, no, no.
Yeah, okay, go, no, 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 no.
No, 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 no.
Keep going.
No, 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 no.
A little bit more of that cry here. No, 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 no.
No, 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 no.
Now let's replace the N for a second with a vowel start. So it's a glottal start, which is like a ow. So,
ow.
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 Yeah, so you mentioned before the at sounds you didn't like.
Yeah.
Did it feel like it almost spread too wide and it got hazy?
Yeah, it gets like
sounding.
Like I feel it back here.
Yeah.
Instead of like you know?
Yeah. So a lot of times when we think of a broader vowel, everything wants to widen and expand, and it does. Sound will go where there is space for it to resonate, right? And so like that's why talking at a quiet volume in a big open room, you'll still hear that person way over there. Versus if you're in a smaller room with padding, I'm never going to hear that conversation on the other side, right? The sound's going to different places, getting absorbed in different ways, and the inside of your mouth is like a room. And so if there's open space that's like stretching out in the back, sound's going that way.
Yeah.
And I want it to come forward. So I have to, instead of like spreading wide in the back, I have to be more intentional to narrow the funnel, if you will, to send it where I want it to go.
Okay.
And that's cool because you have the power to do that. With the way, the shape of things that your mouth and your resonating spaces is going to take, your sound can go that way if you choose for it to, right? Versus if I like open and expand, it's going to have that sound quality because it's hitting the soft palate in the back, which is like the difference between punching a wall and punching a pillow. One is louder, right? Mm-hmm. So the soft palate doesn't have the same kind of resonant capacity. The hard palate does. It has the louder one. I mean, so if I'm sending it more forward and I'm going to go like, ow, ow, and let's do this lower because it's easier. We don't have to stumble over mental obstacles so much. So say, ow,
ow.
Yeah, that was good. And you can feel and really be a student that observes yourself. Like when you can see, what is my mouth doing? What is all the stuff happening? When you can pay attention, it's that mind to muscle connection, the mind to body connection. Think about what it feels like.
Okay.
So if I go, ow, do that?
Ow.
Yeah, and you can almost see how the inside of your mouth is sort of shrinking down a little bit. And that it's not because I want don't hear what I'm not saying, internet world. It's not like you want this tiny space of resonance. You do want a big one. Whitney Houston's a great example of this. Enormous mouth, I'm jealous of. Massive potential for resonating space, but her sound came forward. She had every once in a while some throat stuff going on, like sound went, it was like her own thing, but by and large it was very forward all the time. And so if I go ow, then I can narrow the pipeline and send it forward. Then I can start to expand that a little bit, but not in the back to go oh, right, but to open the front of my mouth. Ow, ow, and it's still going this way. Okay. Go really nasal and narrow first. Go, ow,
ow,
ow, and slowly open your mouth.
Ow.
Do it again. Ow.
Ow.
That was it. Do that again.
Ow.
Good. Yeah, and keep that inside, staying real still. Everything's chill, right? Yes. See how it's so much better?
Yeah.
It is clean, which is one of the first hallmarks of it being correct.
Okay.
Is to sound clean. If it's ridden with texture, like honestly, it's actually kind of hard for me to do. But if it's got a lot of texture, or grit, or air on it, we're probably not quite there. It's probably needing to be refined some more.
Yeah.
And that usually means that there's more work that is being done that doesn't need to be there. But when it's really clean, it's a really good sign.
Okay.
But that also is telling me it probably feels easy. Did that feel easy?
Yeah, it felt easy. It's so a mental thing. Because every time I was like, I can't hit it. And I'm like, you can do it.
I know. And it's like real-time decisions that we often have to make in singing. And in playing with stuff that we have perceived as being difficult because we're used to approaching anything with precaution. It's like fight or flight. It's self-preservation, you know? And so when stuff like this comes along, you probably would recognize like it feels like a risk.
Yeah.
To do it the way that we know it's supposed to be done, but it still feels like a risk. So in that moment, we have to remind ourselves like, let go. Don't try to manipulate it so much. Don't try to hold on. And lo and behold, it comes out. It's so much easier. Yeah. And so repetition matters here. We want to build in the reps of the voice because that's where you build trust in this thing, in your mix, right? So when you let's come back to it. Come back to this. What was the last thing we did? Was it that?
I think so.
Try it again. Good. That was good, but you got more release in there. Trust it. That was it. Good. That that one tried a little bit.
Yeah.
You heard the grit on it. So let's use a little bit of the vocal fry to start, okay?
Okay.
And go.
That's working?
That got
very
too
sweet.
compressed.
Okay.
Yes. So what that did is it started with the thing that we like, but then it doubled down on it.
Yeah.
It was like, instead of allowing that to get the chords to close and then going from there. And that's okay. It's like learning what is the tendency.
Yeah.
Like what is your easiest path to get there? Like the path of least resistance is truly what we're after here. In the voice, it's not always like a life lesson, but it is in the voice.
Yeah.
So when I go, hold on, go back. You know what was helpful before is when we made it really narrow and it was lower. So go, yeah, good. Trust it. It's so there wanting to be easy.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. I sped it up because I knew that you would be a little bit more reactionary in a good way. You know what I mean? Now we're gonna do this on let's do an N. Because we were on a consonant and we left it to go to the vowel. We're gonna go back to the consonant. So go na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
That was good. Yeah.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Nice. So we're gonna go na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Yeah. Here we go.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Back up.
Na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Good.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Say na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Yeah, like a little, like smart aleck kid. Na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
So it's good, but that one shied away a little bit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Versus the confident. It's this wild space that we find ourselves in where it's either like I back away out of safety, right? I'm trying to be careful and not do something wrong, versus like bulldoze it and we have no idea what's happening.
Exactly.
And finding that sweet spot, that like Goldilocks effect, is where the trusted power lives. But it's somewhat earned. Like we have to earn that trust, right? But you have been with all those little diagnostic repetitions of this. Ow! Go back to that again. Think about the vowel. Yeah, when you get a little bit more precise on that vowel mimicry, if you will, like instead of like an it's an the shape of my mouth is different, right? That's good. Yeah, go ow.
Ow! That goes back too.
That's okay. Na na na.
Na na na.
That was it. Na na na.
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 Na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Like you're mad about it. Na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Yeah. Na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Yeah. Now dig your heels into that. Na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
That's good. Yeah.
So the na is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's up to an E now. And that's the second bridge. So these notes start to feel a little bit different. It's transitioning. So your voice goes through multiple bridges. It's not just that first break between head and chest that we're most familiar with, but they go through these new little transition points where you can just tell things feel a little different for some mysterious reason at certain notes. And E, F, F sharp is another one for sopranos. Okay. So now we found it. Let's see if we can walk that back down to like normal territory. So we were just there. Actually, it's a tiny bit lower. Go na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Lean in. Na 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 na.
Na 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 na.
Yeah. Na 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 na.
Na na.
You got it. Na 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 na. Go for it.
Na 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 na.
Keep going.
Na 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 na.
Good.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Yeah.
Na 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 na.
Those are good.
Na 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 na.
Last one.
Na 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 na.
Good. Okay. How did that all feel?
Good. That felt so much better.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. What do you feel like for you is even mentally a part of your process when you can feel it go back versus going forward?
I guess because I always resort to going back.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because every time I practice, sometimes I'll even sing a song in like a na or a gu or whatever, and I can hit it perfectly, but I don't know if it's the vowel or I don't know what it is mentally, but I know I'm getting there. Like the national anthem's a good one. I get there and then I like resort to going back here, and it like sounds okay.
Yeah.
Live still, but like I can feel it's pulling verses.
Yes.
And I lose breath too.
Yeah. So I mean, I can hear in your speaking voice there's a little bit more edge that can teeter on like heaviness of the excessive vocal fry. My voice has more vocal fry today than it normally does. In the last like 3 or 4 days, I've actually had more sinus congestion. I don't know why, because so much of it had like really alleviated. I actually talked about this on a recent live, where I had a lot more space like opening up, and I don't know if it was just like Thanksgiving food or what.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to like get back to like my normal routine with all of that stuff, and it also could just be the weather. My kids have had junk that they've brought home, so it could be that I don't feel ill, that I felt congested. Anytime I have stuffiness, it impacts my voice almost instantly because there's less ease of release from my resonance, and so the default is to hold on a little bit more to muscular stuff, like just the musculature to make sound happen, even in speech. And so when there's a little bit more heaviness, a little bit more density of muscle, there's typically going to end up being a little bit more vocal fry that I don't warm up out of quite as fast throughout the day. Like I can hear it in myself right now. I hear it in your voice as well.
I feel hoarse.
Yeah.
Is
that that's just sort of been going on for a while?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of always, as a little girl, was a raspy talker.
Oh, really?
I've kind of always been kind of raspy, but lately I just wake up feeling hoarse.
Is that always been kind of a stylistic trademark of your sound? A little bit of rasp in there? Yeah. Which is cool. However,
but I don't like feeling
hoarse. Yeah. People with texture have to be a bit more precious about their voice, because while it's really cool, my voice has typically always been like exceptionally clear.
Okay.
Like really, really clean, to the point where I was like, I wish I had more texture in my voice. It'd be so cool if I could sound like this person. Unless I was sick, had some sort of hoarse thing because of that. The challenge though is when you naturally have a lot of texture in your voice, you can be a bit more predisposed to damage and needing more vocal therapy to keep things just healthy. Making sure that you're not in the black, but you're not in the red is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Not in the red. To use a financial term. Incorrectly, apparently. But getting yourself out of the red, because you'll find it easier to get hoarse more than the average person if you have that tendency toward texture in your voice. Like Megan Maroney's that way, right? Her voice has got a lot of texture on it. She has to do a little bit more work to keep that clean and healthy. That doesn't mean it's just your cross to bear. It doesn't mean like you're in danger. It means you do probably have a higher responsibility of understanding vocal health than the average person might have to know. But the average person that doesn't have to worry as much about vocal health might need to dig deeper into finding interesting sounds in their voice and textures that they may not have, or filling out more density of chest voice presence in their tone. So everybody just has their own thing, right? Everybody's got their own cross to bear. So let's see. We've got into your mix a little bit, found some more consistency with putting it there. But let's take a sidebar to deal with the rasp for a minute, and just a little bit like a vocal therapy moment. It's like a commercial break.
Yeah.
Have you ever done like the pigeon sound?
No. How do you even do that?
It's fun. Can you roll your R's? Okay, good. So you're basically rolling your R on the inside of puffy cheeks. So you could also just do you could do the puffy cheeks without it and go. This will actually be a really good one for you. Kind of wish we had done this instead of.
Is that like similar?
Yes, because they're all SOVTs.
Okay.
Lip rolls, the puffy cheeks, the pigeon sound, straw phonation, all in SOVT, which stands for semi-occluded vocal tract exercise. It basically creates back pressure. So there's all this air coming up, but when there's any sort of block from the air coming out in the form of the lips rolling, the straw, which narrows it, which you can tell there's this buildup, but then it streamlines the sound on the other side versus like, and there's nothing stopping it, right? That back pressure is the semi-occlusion that is being created. What that does is it helps to create sort of like a reset on the chords, makes them feel a little bit more relaxed. Instead of everything always coming up this way, it counterbalances that exit of air into this. It almost should feel like zero gravity on the voice when you're singing. So like you're floating, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to do this, let's do the puffy cheeks first by itself. Go. Yeah, and you see how clean and connected that gets? Your control factor is how much your mouth is open. Okay. So if you're going, there's a lot of air coming out, right? If I close the opening of my mouth.
So close it completely almost?
Not completely. You mess with it a little bit and find what feels like the easiest approach here. Okay. So it's usually somewhere in between something really small, because that can get too tight, and something too open, because then there's nothing there to support it. So we want that middle ground.
I can feel all the air. Is it supposed to be that?
Feel it. You mean like
the air coming out?
Yeah. Okay. And you also want to keep the cheeks consistently puffy, and this takes a bit of a closed space, right? Because otherwise then you get rid of all of the air and they deflate. Yeah. So you want to keep the air pressure in the mouth pretty consistent. Now add the tongue trill on the inside. So yeah, that just adds another layer of that back pressure. Okay. So it's kind of like the difference between the puffy cheeks is to a straw, what the pigeon sound is to the straw in water.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the water creates an extra layer, right? We're going to try it on this long scale. Go. Wrong note.
I'm like losing so much air.
Well, then maybe make the little hole in the mouth smaller, you know? Actually, I think this is one of the reasons why straws are really helpful is because they create the accountability over how much air comes out, right? It's depending on the diameter of the straw, that's how much comes out. And your only job is to seal your lips around it. That's why most singing straws are actually very small in diameter. This, however, I do feel like can lead people to over compressing, because the straw's so regulating that there's not a lot of room to sort of feel your way through that. It's accountable, but almost too rigid, and it's like we need a little bit of both. So I love a straw, but I often will tell people to start with like a wider diameter straw, like the Stanley Cup one, you know, because it's easier to deal with. Then the smaller the diameter, the more challenging it can become. But play with the opening is the moral of that story. So right here.
It's so hard to keep it.
And you don't have to hold it right here. I don't know if this is making you squish a little bit, like the puffy cheeks. Yeah. Now without the tongue trill, go back to just. feeling?
It feels easy.
Good.
I just don't know if I'm still letting out too much air, but I don't know how to close it more.
I would say one of the determining factors of how, if you're letting out too much air, would be, is it still sounding clean internally? At the top especially?
Yeah.
Good.
It still felt good.
Then that's probably fine.
Okay.
You do ultimately want to think of an even stream of air throughout this, but sometimes that's like a little much to think about at the beginning.
Yeah,
so if that becomes too much to think about, then don't worry about it.
Okay.
Let the primary thought, I would say, be, is my voice staying clean up at the top when I go, or is it trying to get textured even in spite of this? Because that's going to tell me that I'm still fighting the urge to over muscle the whole operation. A lot of times, and I didn't hear that going on, but a lot of times these exercises help us to get rid of that type of stuff. But for chronic overcompressors, that's very hard to do. And it's all about finding the inroad for people. Like, what is the thing that's going to make this person let go without letting go of all of it? You know what I mean? Because the thing is like, not all tension on the voice is bad. Strain is, but tension and strain are two different things, because you're utilizing a muscle that does have an engagement factor. So there's a type of tension that's being put on there. It's all in correct form though. Yeah. So like, this is why I always talk about like physical fitness type of training. When you're training the voice the way you train the body, yes, there are some exclusions to this concept and these parallels, but by and large, there's a right and a wrong way to like lift weights. Right? I've thrown my back out enough times to know there's a right and a wrong way to do deadlifts and stuff like that. Yeah. And if you do it correctly, there is no pain. Yeah. There's muscle engagement. You feel the muscle burn sometimes, right? There's no pain. Right. And the voice is the same. There is muscle engagement that happens that is good and right. But if there's pain, that's telling us that we're doing it wrong, right? Right. And so when you can kind of have that type of connection mentally to the approach that you're taking, and if you can connect your brain to what that sensation feels like for you, then you might notice when it trips offline a little bit faster. Okay. And that's kind of the main thing that we're trying to get after here, is it's not that you're never allowed to do something wrong, it's how fast are we correcting it? Okay. How fast are we bringing that thing back into alignment because you're self-aware? You know what I'm saying? Yes. So that sound for me, even if it trembles, I might feel it depending on the day. I might feel it weeble wobble around and feel a little like shaky. But if it's physically still feeling easy and I'm clean, those are the benchmarks that I'm after. Is it easy? Is it clean? Everything else can flow from there, but those are the things I'm going to prioritize. Does that make sense? Yep. So, that I think is probably going to be a really helpful one.
Yeah, I think so. It still felt good, but I still felt a little bit of pulling, but it felt good up here. So I don't know if that was tension or. Yeah,
it could be. I mean, there's enough pressure in the cheeks for that one that, oh my gosh, bubbles just happened. I don't even know. Somebody told me it's like I've heard it's like a FaceTime setting.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know.
That's so funny.
Why? And I don't even know why, because we're using like a camera, not like the FaceTime camera.
No, I don't know.
Somebody needs to tell me again how to fix it, how to like turn off. Anytime I'm on a Zoom call, and if I do something with my hands that resembles like a thumbs up, let's see if it'll do it.
Oh, it does that.
It'll do the little thumbs up. Did it happen? I wasn't looking.
It's not happening.
It'll like a little thumbs up emoji pops up.
I've seen that on like
fireworks.
Instagram stories.
I've seen fireworks before. And it usually happens in like the most inopportune times. Like, you might be talking about something really sad and heavy, and all of a sudden it's like balloons. You're like, read the room, okay? Oh but apparently it's not a Zoom setting. It's a FaceTime camera thing, and I don't know. Somebody in the internet tell me how to turn that off. I still have not figured it out. It's been going on for like a year. It just started one day without my permission. I think it was like an update or something. I don't know.
Yeah, mine does that too. I can't figure it out either.
One day I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to tell the whole world on Instagram what I discovered, how to turn that thing off. And the biggest reason I hate it is it distracts me so much. I'm like, I don't know. What was I talking about? I have no idea.
You just see balloons.
Just saw balloons. We were talking about tension.
I thought somebody sent them at first. I was like, oh, thanks.
So I'm just like, good job.
So funny.
Man, I don't remember what we were talking about. That's okay.
We
were talking about something with tension and stuff.
Oh, the neck, throat tension. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want lymphatic massage. Do those help?
Oh, yeah.
I need to get one.
Yes. There's there's certain voice people who are very like specialized in this area of what is it called? Myofascial release, I believe is the term. I'm like rubbing my neck like this is it. However, I'll have to do this sometime on there. Like different neck stretches and things like that are actually quite helpful for preemptively releasing muscles. So you go into a warm up, not like already all tight. Some people will benefit from that more than others. I think everybody would benefit from it.
Yeah.
Okay, so to recap everything, there's a great strength in the chest voice. There's actually great head voice cord closure up there. It's being able to utilize that easy release that you had in like a woo 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 in mix.
Yeah.
Where it's been used to probably over muscling your mix by over compressing. So we're sort of leaning on both the strength of compression, because it's not a bad thing, but using that as like a leverage point to build out the weaker parts, which are the release areas. So it's like resonant placement, which is pharyngeal, like more of the kind of sounds, which if you were thinking about it, when we were doing the that is like a hybrid of compression and pharyngeal, which I would say are your two primary components of what gets us into our mix. Just like part musculature, part resonance, and as your real tangibles. I'm not talking about air, right? Air is always a part of the singing process. So when I say that we get into our mix, the two main ways are like compression and resonance. And somebody's like, what about breathing? I'm like, duh.
Yeah, that's
like
a given.
you have to breathe to stay alive. That's a given. And yes, some people need more air than others.
Okay.
For sure. Some people need to, but the reality is over compressors probably could benefit from a lot of pharyngeal release, which naturally recruits more air, versus somebody who has too much airflow and not enough cord closure actually needs to benefit from reducing the amount of exhale, the amount of air being used in something. It just depends on the person. But so coming back to what I was saying with you with the sound is actually utilizing the resonance of pharyngeal. That is very pharyngeal minded, which helped us. That was like that funnel, right? We were talking about sending that sound forward. That was activating pharyngeal, but using the strength of cord closure in the staccato to get the chords to at least come together in the way that we wanted them to. Because sometimes anything that's more legato, like we moved from the ne, I believe, or something with an N, to the staccato because I could hear the chords need a little bit more activation. They didn't trust in the resonance release yet enough to just go nay, 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 nay and feel free. They needed a little bit more activation to feel safe. So we wanted to help them be like, oh, that's easier. That's more comfortable. And then you go back and you put the N back in its place. And that releases some of the temporary excessive staccato compression. Does that all make sense? I know it's like super technical.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Because I think it's important to understand the why behind the what for your own ability to then go back home and troubleshoot and figure out, like, okay, what is happening here? Yep. So what I would say is, what I want you to do is practice some of those sounds, and so that you can get back to them faster. You can get back to the clarity and the ease where it's forward, it's not retreating. And it's not over muscling, because now what's happened as a result of probably habitual over muscling, grammar is hard, whatever, too much chest voice and yelling, the response, sort of your reaction to that is, okay, back off, pull back, right? Which isn't a bad response, except it's placed wrong. Right? It's because we don't want the sound to go back. That actually, ironically, creates more tension. More the same thing. So we want it to stay forward. It's like, how do we get there, though, safely? So what those moments that you're practicing and finding that it's wanting to retreat, I want you to go back to the thing that got us narrow and forward, and then you slowly work your way back and zoom back out to normal sounds. Na na na, na na na, mum 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 mum. Those kinds of things that help us go from that thing that's really specific and like hard to know why we're doing it to slowly, one step at a time, you bring it back into view of normal sounds that you would make, right? Okay. Then that's what you put back into a song.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I would also say just take all these different exercises, including the or the without the tongue trill, and incorporate that more on the early side of a warm-up with like lip rolls around that same time frame in a warm-up strategy. I think that they do a good job of just sort of resetting and bringing like a good balance into your voice. So then when you go into things that use more, it's more full-bodied with your voice. It feels more balanced straight out of the gate. We're going to do more part 2s and 3s of this so that we can kind of see the evolution of the drawing. Yeah. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Does this feel helpful?
Yeah.
Good.
It has felt helpful. I just need to make sure I practice every day.
It's part of it.
Yep.
It's the biggest part, you know. It's part of the whole thing that you led with at the beginning was it's kind of out of shape and having to get back into the mode of it. So whenever the voice muscle feels like it is not quite able to handle what it used to be able to handle, often it overcorrects, it overreacts. It's like if you, the first time you hit the gym after weeks of being gone, you know, we're like, oh, I'm used to lifting this much weight. But then if you haven't in a couple, it's a use it or lose it thing. Like you go in 20 pounds at holding 20-pound dumbbells when you have not been lifting for weeks, feels really, really, really heavy. More so than it would if you had been like working out every single day, slowly but surely increasing the weight capacity. So when that happens, like we bite off more than we can chew sometimes, and we'll over leverage something a little bit, and then it's backpedaling a little bit. So you're starting to kind of get back into the flow of how much capacity and endurance does my voice have, how much weight on the bar can I put on here today, and it's not going to be the same as it will be in 3 weeks of consistent habitual practice. So it gets better and easier every time.
How long of a practice warm-up every day do you think? Like 10 minutes, 30 minutes, hour?
That's a good question. So a warm-up is definitely going to be different than a workout.
Yes.
So a warm-up you could do every day. You could take days off. It's not to say that you have to warm up 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I don't, to be totally honest, I don't warm up 7 days a week. But my work days, I always do. But you can always do a good, healthy warm-up, and that takes about 15 minutes for most people. A workout is going to be more like focused and even isolated time in certain coordinations, and those probably more like a half hour. But you work up to it. So a warm-up might be 15 minutes, then you're like, okay, now I'm ready to focus. That means if you're working on like a hard mix, you might only do it for 10 minutes that day, you know, and that might be all that your voice is going to handle that day. So, but I could do 40 minutes in my head voice alone, you know what I mean? But there's just less weight going on there. And so it's easier to do longer things in certain parts of my voice than in others. So the things that you feel the strongest in, you could probably stay there longer, and you really want to judge it by how do you feel. Check in with yourself pretty regularly. Do I feel like I need to take 5 minutes to stop and take a rest? Then do it. Take 5 minutes off, come back, sing for 5 more minutes, and then keep checking in with yourself and seeing, do I feel better than I did 5 minutes ago? Do I feel worse? Definitely don't want to feel worse.
No.
But you can judge it by at the end of a leg day in the gym, you should feel like, dang, I just worked hard.
Yes.
And I'm now glad it's over.
Okay.
But maybe you didn't strain a muscle and you're hobbling out of the gym.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's very similar to that. Not every day should have to feel like it's exhausting you at all. But you should feel like, I did some good work here.
Awesome.
I think you could start with like, after a warm-up, all things considered, a warm-up being separate, then start with like a 10-minute workout and work your way up to like a 60-minute workout. Always still taking little breaks in between. And that's if you're staying in the realm of technique pretty exclusively and not singing songs. Singing songs is its own type of workout as well. And it just depends on what you're singing. You know what I mean? So when you're needing to work up to, you said a 2-hour set pretty soon, then yeah, you want to think about intentionally increasing the reps.
Okay.
Almost every day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you won't necessarily be adding chunks of time every single day, but you might be adding one more iteration in the scale. Okay. Like, oh, this time I went up to an F sharp instead of an F. That's really 1% better. Okay. Is what we're really looking for. Awesome. And it's the compound effect that takes place. So like little small changes happening consistently over the course of time reap very big rewards. You know that analogy? It's like, would you rather have $1 million today or 1 penny doubled every day for 30 days or something like that, whatever it is. And that ends up being like $7 million. It's that. We're looking for the 1 penny approach.
Okay.
Yeah. Just keep checking in with yourself. Okay. Like, how do I feel? How does you can also judge it by your speaking voice. How does your speaking voice feel after you're singing?
My speaking voice feels better now than it did.
Good.
I know. Yay.
That's a great indicator. It should feel better, not worse. You should feel like it's easier to talk after a good vocal workout, not harder. Yeah. It's losing our voice is not some freaking badge of honor. Like people are like, I sang so hard. Now I
know it's the worst.
Like that's not good. That's not how it's supposed to be.
It's the worst.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for hopping in, everybody. And see you next time. Yup.
Thank you.